SKED User Video 7, Crossovers, Playoffs and Tournaments. These three features of SKED allow you to prepare your season or tournament in advance, without the need to wait till portions of competitions have been completed to proceed with building the draw. Crossovers. Crossover phases are often used where there is more than one section within a grade. For example, an 8-team grade might be separated into 2 sections, and following the initial round in the competition, a crossover of the 2 sections may be required to further identify the level of each team. To create a crossover phase, select +Add Phase. Name your phase and choose crossover in the phase type. Link the crossover to a prior phase and add the required round dates, then select Add. Crossover phases are generated with an icon for each placing in the linked phase standings table, and will be placed into the same number of sections as used in the linked phase. Section names and placement of icons can be manually modified as required. The placeholder icons will become team names once all results are submitted for the linked phase. This means that a crossover phase can be created in advance to inform participating teams of their competition format. Crossovers follow a round-robin type format, where teams will continue to face new teams until a complete round-robin is played. When a crossover is followed by a playoff phase, the placeholder icons in the playoff will initially present as Z1, Y1, etc. These icons represent each team's finishing position in the crossover. These icons too will become team names once the crossover results have been recorded. Playoffs. These are created with placeholder icons that are presented in a predetermined format that can be reordered according to the competition requirements. To create a playoff, select +Add Phase and add a phase name. Choose phase type playoff and select a phase to link your playoff to. It is the standings table from the linked phase that will determine which teams populate each placeholder icon. Note that all games within the linked phase must have a result submitted for teams to populate the playoff icons. And importantly, all games in the linked phase must contain a score prior to the playoff phase commencing. There is the ability for grades within the same playoff phase to be linked to different phases. For example, if a grade played a crossover before the playoffs, you would link that grade to the crossover phase, while other grades can remain linked to a different phase. There are 4 levels available for use in a playoff phase: preliminary, quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. Grades within a playoff phase do not all have to have the same number of playoff levels. In grades that do not have finals, you would select none. Choose the date that each level of the playoff will be played on. For one-day tournament playoffs, you would only select one date. Then all levels will be scheduled for that same date. Save the phase settings, and the playoff will automatically build. Once built, move the icons into your required format. You can do this by dragging and dropping the icons. And to assist with this, 3 icons can sit in one set of placeholder squares while carrying out this process. When additional fixtures are required, the plus button allows you to create additional placeholders. Sometimes these are used to transport teams directly to the next level of a playoff. For example, when there is an odd number of teams in a grade, you may wish to allow the top team to progress to the next level while the other teams compete for the remaining positions. By scheduling a team a bye in a playoff, they are deemed to be the winner of that game and will automatically progress to the next level in the winning position. Once the playoff has been modified to your format and added to the calendar, the public note appearing against each playoff fixture can be modified if required. For example, cup, plate, bowl, or a specific trophy name. Upon completion of the playoff phase, a final seedings document will be populated with the teams in order of their placing. There is also an option to add a public note to the final seedings document. Tournaments. Usually a tournament requires multiple rounds to be played on the same date. This is achieved by simply adding the date the required number of times in phase settings, and then using the setting in preferred times to fill all venues at first preferred time, then use alternate times. By selecting only the required number of venues for each section, a round will be created at all of the preferred times. When a tournament is to be played over more than one date, add each date the required number of times. Tournaments are set up in phases the same way a season competition is created. For example, the initial phase of a tournament might be a round robin or pool play, followed by a playoff type phase. A playoff type phase in a tournament is set up in exactly the same way as a season playoff. Additional phases can be used in a tournament, but it is not necessary for all grades to compete in every phase. And some grades may not compete in the playoff phase and remain in the round robin phase throughout the tournament. For grades that have more than one section, it is important to allow for all sections of grades that are included in the playoff phase to be completed prior to the commencement of games in the playoff. This is to allow team names to populate the icons successfully. For more complex tournament formats, where teams progress in directions based on results of particular games, a matrix of a seeded tournament can be imported into SKED, and rather than results of a round robin or a pool play component determining which teams play in the playoffs, the matrix itself will direct teams to positions based on seeding and results of fixtures played within the matrix. For more information about this type of tournament, refer to our support article, Seeded Playoffs and Tournaments. Sporty provides a comprehensive online support area accessed from Dashboard, Support and Community, where there is a dedicated SKED component. There is also a help icon on every Sporty page. This searches Sporty AI to provide detailed answers to your questions with links to related support articles. SKED support can also be obtained by emailing competitions@sportsground.com.